Hey there, everybody. Welcome back. It is time for another year of Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing. Starting off at the St. Johns River, we're going to be doing the picks again this year with the LJM Outdoors group. We do have a group on Bassmaster. If you haven't joined, do. Looks like we got 493 people there already. So, going to be some good competition this year. We are doing prizes. I've actually got a couple of them already. We got a couple of Kistler rods again. Actually, this chromium was, unfortunately, last year's Drain the Lake champion did not claim. So I reached out several times, could not get a hold of them. So I guess tough luck for them. Good for whoever wins this year. We'll probably add some more to that prize pool. I am not doing Drain the Lake in the LJM Outdoors Bassmaster group this year. We're just going to focus on fantasy fishing. That's what we always pick. So we're just going to stick with that for the group. And so any prizes that I add to that, it'll all go to the winner of the fantasy fishing group on there. So with that said, like I mentioned, please join that group if you haven't. We do picks every tournament on this YouTube page. Appreciate you following along. We had a really good year last year, had some great competition. I think I was 125th or something like that in the final standings, and I didn't come close to winning the group. So with that said, let's jump into the St. John's. You can see we're doing a little different format this year. I'm going to kind of show when we get into the picking here. I wanted to put up my spreadsheet that I use that's got all the data on it. It's got a ton of data for the tournament. So even if you don't use my picks, hopefully that's helpful. What I don't know is how that's going to look. I imagine if you're anything like me, probably 90+% of you are watching on your phone. So I don't know how that's going to look. So when you watch this video, see if you like that. If it's too small, you can't see it, whatever, let me know. And we will adjust things for the next tournament for how we put all this together and record everything. With that said, let's get the spreadsheet up and we'll jump right into bucket A. If you're not familiar, we go A through E every time. I don't reverse countdown or anything like that. We're just going to start at the top and work our way down. What you see in front of you is all the data I use to pick. Excuse me. And then the highlights on the left and the right, the yellow and orange on the left, are kind of my top picks I come down to in the bucket. And on the right, you can't kind of see that behind me. I'll scroll down a little bit. Those are predictor scores. Once again, if you're new, I do use I call it the predictor. It's just simply a formula that takes all the data I have for every tournament, punches it in, spits out a score for every angler out of a possible 100 points. And the highest ones in those, the higher the score there, the more the formula thinks that angler is going to do well. We had some questions towards the end of last year how that predictor ended up doing. I did beat the predictor. I think I released this at the end of last year, kind of a comparison tournaments. I don't remember if I released that or not, but I did put it together. I beat the predictor, but it was really close. It would have had a really good year too, probably in the upper 90s percentile. So the one limitation is it's only as good as the data you put in. And we do have an interesting tournament this year, or a schedule, I should say, with a couple tournaments that we have very little or no history on. That I can't even remember the name of the river now. I'm blanking. Starts with a P. It's in North Carolina, Tidal River, I think. Obviously, I haven't done much investigating on that one yet. That's going to be an interesting one because, as far as I can tell, no major tournament's ever been there. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Please let me know if I am, because I'll use whatever we got to do some historical review on that when we get closer. But a tournament like that, the predictor's probably going to struggle because it's only as good as the data you put in, essentially. So, but other than that, a tournament like this one, I expect it to do well. Hopefully not as good as me and hopefully not as good as you, but it is probably going to do pretty decent. And you can kind of see behind me there what it's picking. Anyway, with all that said, let's jump right into bucket A. As always, you could practically put these names on a wall, throw a dart at them, and have a good pick. I am not sure why I don't have Chris Johnston highlighted in one color or the other. He's obviously a good choice. Fouts did well here a year ago. The one thing from last year to this year, as we get into this, last year was in April. Every other tournament pretty much has been February, and obviously we're back in February here. So in terms of historical data, last year certainly matters, but with the caveat that I expect this to be more like 19, 20, 21, and 22 than I do last year. We will see. Obviously, there were some other things that really changed things last year, with scoping really becoming the dominant factor in a lot of wins. So that could be part of that change as well. But Overall, I'm putting a little bit more weight on the previous tournaments than I am last year, though we're certainly not discounting last year at all. With that said, as I mentioned, Chris Johnson, Corey Johnson, both in this one, really good picks. Corey Johnson absolutely lapped the field last year, if you recall. I think he won by 20 pounds. So good option. Jordan Lee, Brandon Lester, both in this one, both historically strong here. Brandon Lester, in terms of consistency, is about as good as it gets here at the St. John's. Trey McKinney, rookie last year that, took the bass fishing world by storm, for lack of a better term. Really, that whole class kind of did, but he was the cream of the crop, rookie of the year. JT Tompkins, rookie too. He struggled here last year. Really solid angler, had a really good year. Patrick Walters was sort of the mark of consistency. If you see there, he was 7th, 4th, 10th, and 4th, the 4 previous tournaments, and then bombed last year. I remember that very well because I had him as my pick. Finished 82nd. Also took John Cruz, which he has a very similar looking resume here at the St. John's. Ultimately, in this one, if you want a no-brainer, easy pick, grab Johnston, in my opinion. I'd be shocked if either one of them didn't do really well here. Obviously, their best finishes were last year, a little later in the year, with a 5th and a 1st place between the two of them. But they've been really consistent here, and they're just really good anglers. I'd be shocked if either of them didn't do well. However, and I might get myself in trouble already right away in the season, I'm grabbing Patrick Walters in this one. I did the same thing a year ago, and it burned me. I am thinking that moving back to a February tournament's gonna kind of play into him a little better. Obviously, that April tournament, for whatever reason, he just couldn't get back on the fish last year. But I am going Patrick Walters. And I think I was on this last year, thinking he was going to compete for AOY. Obviously, he didn't. Chris Johnston won it. I think he's got a shot again this year, but if he's going to, it's going to have to start off here at the St. John's, and I look for him, hopefully top 10, maybe even competing for a win in Bucket A. On the predictor side, a little bit surprising. Jordan Lee, the top one in this. Now, he's only got the one historical tournament here on the Bassmaster side anyway from last year. Now, he was 12th, obviously very good. But the predictor, part of the input is number of tournaments here. And so for him to only have one tournament and still be the highest predictor is a little surprising to me. But there's a lot else that goes into it. So I'm not exactly sure, to be honest, why he's so high, but he's their pick here with Corey Johnston close behind at 51 points, about 5 points behind him. Moving on into Bucket B. Another good one. Really two standouts in this one for me. Matt Airy would be a good pick. He was 9th a year ago. He's been consistently pretty good here over the years. Taco Ito's a guy that's been hit or miss, but has some good finishes here. Caleb Sumrall in the last 2 has been pretty good. My man Paroznik is in here. Probably don't pick him based on history, but if I get a chance, I will. Drew Cook is another one of those guys that has been really, really good here and then struggled last year. I would expect him to do well again, but you never know. Stetson Blaylock, kind of the same way. He's always been really good last year. I guess he was 20th last year. I didn't remember him finishing that well. So Blaylock would be another good pick in this one. Ultimately, for me, for whatever reason, honestly, Drew Cook has better historical finishes than Drew Benton. But for whatever reason, I'm on Drew Benton for this one. Always in Florida, he's a good pick. He was 4th a year ago. Really consistent. But ultimately, my pick in this one is going to be John Cox. As you can see on the screen, 22nd, 4th, 37th, 33rd. And before that 33rd, let me grab that. Oh, no, he did not fish the 2019. He was still on FLW. So that one, he doesn't have one. He does have about 38% of the picks, which is pretty high. But I think he's too good an angler, too familiar with the St. John's to go away from. So John Cox is my pick in B. On the predictor side, predictor actually comes down to the same 2 I did. Drew Benton at 43.4 and John Cox at 57.17. So predictor really, really, really high on Cox in this one. And let's jump into Bucket C. In C, this is actually a really strong bucket. This one to me is closer than what Bucket B is with some of these anglers here. Brian New has a win here in February. Brandon Palaniuk has never finished worse than 20th here. Even when we did that different time of year last year, he still managed a 16th, so he's been strong. Hackney's a little up and down. He had a 58th 2 years ago, but he's had 2 top 10s outside of that in the last three trips. Bob Downey is usually strong here. He was second 2 years, well, not 2 years ago, but in 2022 that would have been. He was second, so he's had some good finishes. Really good, strong Florida angler, and an Iowa boy, which you can't discount. Brian Schmidt, you get current and grass, and Brian Schmidt is going to be a factor. He has not really competed for a win here, but really strong angler. Ultimately, though, for me, I kind of took a shot on Walters and A, so I wanted to go a little more consistent here. I'm grabbing Brandon Palaniuk. Just that history of top 20 finishes, 16th, 20th, 14th, 15th, the last 4 here. I like a guy in C that I can hopefully count on to continue that trend and have a good finish, even, whether or not he competes for the win, just to have a really strong finish and get me some decent points. His pick percentage, I haven't mentioning those, but his pick percentage is 15.6 when I put this together. That might have changed a little bit. Be sure to check that out. On the predictor side, another one where the predictor is way out front on one guy. The predictor has Brian Schmidt at 34.42 for second place. The top pick in this one, in a blowout, Greg Hackney, 61 points out of a possible score of 100, almost doubling second place. So predictor really high on Hackney in this one. Into bucket D. A little bit tougher. This, quite frankly, was the toughest one for me to pick. Christie's in here. He's got a okay history here. He was 7th a year ago, but prior to that, in those February ones, he struggled. Logan Latuso, 10th last year. Prior to that, he hasn't been here. He's a younger guy. Mark Menendez has some historically up and down, but fairly strong finishes here. He's generally either competed for top 10 or been like back third of the pack. So a little bit hit or miss. And then Jason Williamson, another guy that's had some decent finishes here, and he's not hardly picked at all. So with 0.6%, could be a decent value if he can put together a strong tournament. Ultimately, I am going to end up going Mark Menendez in this one. We'll jump over to my team at the end of this one. We're looking at tiebreakers, and you'll see I think I originally picked Christie in this one. I am going to change that. I'm going to go Menendez. That up or down scares me a little bit. I guess I'm going to live with a little inconsistency and hope that he can have another strong finish out of bucket D. On the predictor side, Logan Latuso, second place, 40.1 points on the strength of that top 10 a year ago. And then Jason Christie is the top pick for the predictor with 44.35 points. And wrapping things up in bucket E. This was a fairly strong bucket. I like this bucket better than C, which seems to happen more and more lately for whatever reason. But anyway, Scott Canterbury's here. He's got a couple top 10s back in 1920 with a 9th and a 6th. John Cruz is in this one. He's another guy. He's got 3 top 5s here, but also a 61st and a 68th. So hard to say a little bit what you're going to get from him. Dakota Ebert, I did not originally notice that he was in this bucket. I just, as I was setting up here to record this, noticed he was there. He is a rookie. We probably didn't touch on the rookies enough after the storm that they brought last year. I've kind of previously had a rule where I'm not going to take rookies for the couple first tournaments. Let them get the, whatever you want to call it, let them get the jitters out of the way. But that rookie class that came in last year didn't have any problems with that. The 2 rookies that I'm really keeping an eye on this year are Hebert and Fothergill. I think everybody's on Fothergill. Hebert's a really good angler too. Those guys that come out of the opens are so good scoping now that I don't know if they don't have to worry about the jitters as bad because you're not making, you're not, I don't even know what I'm trying to say there. The rookies are going to be really good again this year. I'd be shocked if they're not, especially those 2. And then finally, before I ramble 2 more about the rookies, Jake Whitaker, pretty strong finishes here, 33rd a year ago, but 14th and 5th in 22 and 20. He did struggle in 21 at 91st, so he's a little up and down too. Hard to say what you're going to get out of him, but he's certainly got the capability of competing at the top level here at St. John's. ultimately in this one, I'm doing it again. I'm running back last year's pick with John Cruz. That's one that could bite me, but he's certainly shown the ability to finish near the top here, and he's a great value in E. If you can get if you get a top 5 finish out of E, you're feeling really good coming out of this first tournament. On the predictor side, 36.15 points. Second place is Scott Canterbury, on the strength of he's got those 2 top 10s a little ways back in 19 and 20, and then he was 12th here in 22. So he's had some nice finishes, puts him in second. Number 1 pick in this one is John Cruz with those 3 top 5s. Obviously, that's going to bump him up. He's picked by just under 20% as of when I put this data together. So with that, let me know what you like of this format. If this is too much on the screen, if it's hard to read on your phone, if it just is distracting, let me know. We'll figure out a different way to present this data, but I wanted to try this for the first tournament. So you had all this right there if you wanted to make a pick based off the data that's not mine, not my pick, I should say. And if you'd like to see this, if you'd like me to send it to you, leave a comment where you want me to send it. Hit me up on socials or email and let me know where you want to get this. You can send me a message in the group and I can send it to you however you like there too. So with that, we are going to pick tiebreakers. I was awful at this last year. Pull up my team. And I did have Menendez in here. Okay. I thought that was a change, but I do have Mark Menendez. My tiebreaker, I'm going with 78 pounds even. Obviously, last year, Corey Johnston would have blown that out of the water. Historically here, especially in February, mid to upper 70s, you're going to be competing for a win. You might get a guy that's 83, 84 pounds, whatever. But quite often, upper 70s is going to win it. It kind of just depends how you think it's going to go this year with the big girls moving up and being ready to chomp. So 78 pounds feels good to me. That's what I'm going with. Once again, thanks for watching this first one. A little bit different this year. A lot of moving parts to this. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Join our group on Bassmaster. Follow along there. We've got the prizes for the Fantasy Fishing Champion at the end of the season. And good luck, everybody. We'll see you here probably in about a week. We've got Okeechobee on a quick turnaround after this one. So I always enjoy those. It makes me kind of go crazy having to put all this information together and get the video out. But that's why I do it. It's fun. So once again, thanks for watching, everybody. Good luck this season. We'll see you on the next one.